I still remember that moment like it happened yesterday. It was a lazy Saturday afternoon with pale golden sunlight spilling across the suburban street. I'm Sam, 23 years old, sprawled on my couch, scrolling through my phone, when I noticed a missed call from Tom, my best friend. The night before, he had left his headphones at my place after a late gaming session. "Bring them over," his text read. No big deal, I thought. I grabbed the headphones from the table, stuffed them into my pocket, and drove to his house. Little did I know that one knock on the door would send my life spiraling into a forbidden path, where the line between right and wrong blurred into a haze of temptation. Tom's house was just a few blocks away, a cozy American-style home with a white picket fence and a neatly trimmed lawn. I'd been there countless times, ever since we were kids building sandcastles in the backyard. Tom's mom, Marissa, was always around, but I never paid her much attention. She was beautiful, I'll admit, with her glossy brown hair and graceful figure, but to me, she was just my friend's mom, part of a different world. That day, though, everything changed. I knocked on the door, waiting with my hands in my pockets. The door swung open, and I nearly dropped the headphones. There stood Marissa, wrapped in nothing but a thin white bathrobe that clung to her body, her wet hair sticking to her shoulders, dripping water onto the floor. She smiled, completely unbothered, her eyes sparkling, as if she knew I was caught off guard. "Sam, it's been a while. Tom's not home, but come in. Don't just stand there," she said, her voice warm and oddly intimate. I fumbled, my eyes struggling to avoid staring, but I couldn't help noticing the faint outline of her curves beneath the robe. I just came to return Tom's headphones. He forgot them last night," I said, holding them up like a shield, my voice slightly shaky. Marissa closed the door and stepped closer, the faint scent of lavender soap swirling around her, making my head spin. "No rush. Sit down, tell me how you've been." "Tea or coffee?" she asked, settling onto the sofa, crossing her legs so the hem of her robe slid up, revealing a glimpse of her smooth thigh. I hesitated, feeling like I was being pulled into a game I didn't understand. Eventually, I sat across from her, separated by a small coffee table. "Tea's fine, thanks," I said, trying to sound calm. Marissa stood, moving toward the kitchen, her robe swaying with each step. When she returned with 2 cups of tea, her hand brushed mine as she handed me one. It was a fleeting touch, but it sent a jolt through me. Our eyes met for a split second, and I saw something in her gaze. Not the look of a mother, but of a woman. Enigmatic and alluring. I swallowed hard, telling myself I was imagining things. But deep down, I knew something had begun. We started talking, at first about nothing serious. "Still working at the auto shop? Or have you found something new?" she asked, leaning forward, causing the neckline of her robe to slip slightly, exposing a sliver of her delicate collarbone. I forced myself to focus on her words. "Still there, ma'am. Trying to save up to move out on my own." She nodded, listening intently, as if my mundane life was the most fascinating thing she'd ever heard. Then, out of nowhere, her tone softened. "You know, I miss the days when you and Tom were little, running around the backyard. You're both so grown up now." I smiled, remembering. "Yeah, time flies. I still remember your cookies. Tom always stole my share." Marissa laughed, but her eyes held a trace of sadness. "Those were good days. But now, things feel a bit empty. Tom's got his own life, and I'm just rattling around this house, like I'm waiting for something." Her words caught me off guard. Marissa had always seemed strong, confident, at least to me. But now, she was showing me a different side, a lonely, vulnerable one. "I didn't think you'd feel like that. I mean, you always seem fine," I said, searching for the right words. Marissa gave a wistful smile, tilting her head so her wet hair fell across her face. "Fine? Maybe I'm good at hiding it, but sometimes I just want someone to really listen. Someone who makes me feel alive." She looked at me, her gaze sincere but laced with a subtle invitation. My heart pounded, and the air between us grew heavy, like we were standing on the edge of something unspoken. "I get it. If you ever need to talk, I'm here," I said, my voice a little hoarse. Marissa's smile was both warm and dangerous. "Thank you, Sam. You're something special," she said, and as she leaned closer to set her cup on the table, I caught another whiff of her scent. I couldn't stop thinking about her. The way she looked at me, her soft voice, and that moment when her robe slipped up her thigh. I told myself it was nothing, that I was overthinking, But every time I closed my eyes, I saw her gaze, as if she was calling me back. I knew I was stepping into dangerous territory, but part of me didn't want to stop. A few days later, I ran into Marissa at the grocery store. I was pushing a cart, half-heartedly eyeing some instant noodles, when I spotted her at the end of the aisle, wearing a fitted green dress that hugged her figure, holding a jar of tomato sauce and muttering to herself. "Don't go over, Sam," I told myself, but my feet moved anyway. "Marissa? Fancy seeing you here," I said, trying to sound casual. She looked up, her smile radiant, her eyes glinting. "Sam? You shop at this hour too, looking for something tasty for dinner?" I scratched my head, grinning. "Me? Probably just ramen. You?" She held up the jar, leaning toward me so close I could smell her perfume. "Tomato sauce, but I'm torn. This one or that one?" We walked down the aisle, chatting about food, the weather, then deeper things. She asked if I ever felt lost, and I was surprised by the question. "Some days, I don't know what I want," I admitted, my eyes briefly tracing the curve of her shoulder. She shook her head, her gaze distant. "Me too, Sam. Sometimes I just want to feel alive again." She paused, turning to me, her hand brushing my arm as she pointed to a box of pasta on the shelf. The touch was like fire, and I saw her lips curve into a knowing smile, as if she felt it too. "Think I should try this one?" I said, my voice faltering. She nodded, her eyes never leaving mine. "Maybe I will. Thanks, Sam." When we parted, she walked away, her dress swaying, and I stood there, heart racing, knowing I was being pulled into something I couldn't resist. Things spiraled out of control when Marissa invited me over for dinner. "Tom's out with friends tonight. I'm making spaghetti. Come by, it'll be nicer with company," she said during another grocery store run. Her voice was soft, but her eyes held a challenge. I knew I should say no, but the way she tilted her head, the way she bit her lip waiting for my answer, made it impossible. "Sure, sounds good," I said before I could think twice. That night, I stood at her door, clutching a bottle of soda, my heart pounding. Marissa opened the door, wearing a tight white blouse and jeans, her hair pulled up, exposing her slender neck. "Hey, Sam, come in. I made spaghetti. Hope you like it," she said, her voice bright. I stepped inside, the smell of food filling the air. She moved around the kitchen, cooking and humming an old song, her hips swaying to the rhythm. I sat at the table, watching her, and for the first time, I couldn't deny how stunning she was. Not just her looks, but the way she moved, the way she smiled, the way she made me feel like I was the only person in the room. We ate, talking easily. She told me about her younger days, how she dreamed of being an artist, painting and traveling the world. "But then I chose to be a mom, and everything changed," she said, her voice tinged with regret. I looked at her, struck by her honesty. "You could still paint, couldn't you?" "It's never too late," I said, hoping to cheer her up. Marissa's eyes lit up. "You always know how to make me feel better, Sam. Thanks for listening." Then she stood, walking around the table to clear my plate. And as she leaned down, her fingers grazed my shoulder, lingering just a moment too long. My breath caught, and when she turned back, her eyes locked onto mine, a secretive smile playing on her lips. "Want anything else?" she asked, her voice low, laced with something more. I swallowed, shaking my head. "No, I'm good." But we both knew I wasn't talking about the food. Or maybe I was just looking for her. One night, Tom and I hit a local bar. We were joking around when I saw Marissa walk in with some friends, wearing a black dress that hugged every curve. She waved when she saw me, and I waved back, unable to look away. "Mom's out with friends? Rare sight," Tom said, hugging her. "I need to have some fun too, don't I?" she replied, sitting next to me, so close her knee brushed mine under the table. We talked, but every time she laughed, every time she leaned closer to say something, I felt a rush of heat. When Tom stepped away to grab drinks, she turned to me, her hand resting on my thigh for a fleeting second, sending my pulse into overdrive. "Sam, I don't know why, but talking to you makes me feel free. Like I can be myself," she said, her voice almost a whisper. I swallowed, knowing I was crossing a line. "I feel the same, Marissa, but I'm not sure we should feel this way." Her eyes searched mine, her fingers tightening briefly before pulling back. "You're right. We're probably walking a dangerous path," Tom returned, breaking the moment. But the tension between us lingered like a secret we both carried. The real tension came one afternoon at Tom's house. Tom had gone out with friends, leaving me alone in the living room. I was scrolling through my phone when Marissa walked in, wearing a thin t-shirt and shorts, her hair loose, her bare feet padding softly on the hardwood floor. She sat next to me, so close I could feel the warmth of her body. "Sam, I need to say something, but I'm scared it'll ruin everything," she said, her voice trembling, her hand resting on my thigh. My blood raced, but I managed to reply, "Tell me. I want to hear it." She took a deep breath, her eyes locked on mine. "I know this is wrong. You're Tom's friend, and I'm his mom. But I can't stop thinking about you. Our talks, the way you make me feel alive." Her words hit me like a punch. I'd felt it too, but hearing her say it made it real. "I feel the same," I admitted, my voice shaking, my hand brushing hers. "I've tried to stop, but every time I see you, I just want to be closer." She gripped my hand, pulling me toward her, her breath warm against my cheek. "Sam, we shouldn't," she whispered, her lips inches from mine. The world spun, but then she stood, breaking the moment, her eyes filled with regret. "We can't." I nodded, but we both knew the line had been blurred. Things got serious when Tom started suspecting something. One day, while we were playing basketball at the park, he stopped, staring at me. "Sam, you're hiding something, aren't you? You've been weird, especially around my mom," he said. I froze, forcing a laugh. "What? You're overthinking it. I just like your mom. She's cool." He frowned, unconvinced. Sweat trickled down my back. That night I went to Marissa's and she pulled me inside, her voice panicked. "Sam, Tom asked me about you. He's suspicious. I don't know what to do." I grabbed her hand, trying to calm her, but she pulled me into a corner of the living room, her fingers digging into my arms. "Sam, if this gets out," she said, her voice breaking. And then she hugged me, her face pressed against my chest. I felt her heartbeat, her ragged breath. And in a reckless moment, I leaned down, my lips brushing her forehead, a gesture both tender and forbidden. She looked up, her eyes burning, but then pushed me away, shaking her head. "We have to stop, Sam, but I don't want to." I held her hand tighter. "Neither do I." We stood there, so close I could feel her breath, but neither of us crossed that final line. Our secret stayed hidden. Not yet. Marissa and I learned to live with it, loving in the shadows. We met when Tom wasn't home, stealing glances, secret touches, and sometimes, in stolen moments, a hurried embrace in the kitchen, her body pressed against mine as she whispered she couldn't live without me. Every time I saw Tom, guilt gnawed at me, but it wasn't enough to make me stop. Marissa had become essential to me. One night, as we sat on the couch, she leaned against my shoulder, her fingers tracing circles on my chest. "Did you ever think we'd come this far?" she asked softly. I smiled, lacing my fingers with hers. "Honestly, no, but I don't regret it." She smiled, her touch lingering. "Me neither, but sometimes I'm scared. If Tom finds out, or anyone," I pulled her closer, whispering, "I'm scared too, but being with you makes it worth it. I don't know how long this secret will last, or if it'll destroy everything. But right now, with Marissa beside me, her warmth against me, I know I chose this path. Our happiness is built on secret moments, stolen touches, hurried embraces, and looks that say everything. It's not perfect, but it's ours. Have you ever loved someone you shouldn't? If you've got a story to share, drop a comment or send it to the Cheater's Diary. Subscribe, hit the bell, and join us to uncover the secrets that make hearts race. Because sometimes, love is a dangerous game, but it's one worth playing.